exactly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys can come on in. If you don't mind just signing in at the center there. All right, we'll start with the roll call. Mr. Warner.
Here.
Mr. Babcock.
Here.
Mr. Meyer-Holtz.
Here.
Ms. Suser.
Here.
Mr. Easterwood. Here. Ms. Kulkowski. That everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? Any additions, corrections? All right, and minutes from the previous meeting? Additions, corrections? If not, do we have a motion to mark as read?
So
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
all right.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, one abstain. Come on in, Gary. You don't mind signing in at the middle right there? All right, old business. We have the grant writer contract / proposal on the table. So that's a proposal from a grant writer that we have interviewed through one of our committees. So right now it's just sitting there for discussion. So I'd like to open the floor for discussion.
I was impressed with Christy. I think it was recommended that we go with hiring her. We were gonna wait to review her plan more fully with the full council present.
Has she done her background check?
Yeah, she was, we're just waiting on it.
Did she submit her plan?
Yeah, the contract.
No, the plan that I thought she said something about a plan.
The
Yeah,
proposal.
I thought you said a plan. Yeah, I read the
No,
proposal.
I said plan because it's basically like a plan of like her goals for us and like what she's gonna do for us. Yeah, I said plan.
Awesome.
For Zach, I spoke to Zach recently. He is interested in working with Christy on the community block grant, but he doesn't want to take away anything from her and what would cause her to like lose money because he's a kind soul. And I strongly recommended that using his professor's years of knowledge would really benefit.
Yeah, I think him doing something is not taking away from her.
That's what I try to push to him. Does anybody have anything that they want to
Yeah.
relay back to Zach?
I'd rather him just work independently on his own and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Who's gonna determine what grants are sought after? Or you're just gonna seek after every grant there is and
Great question. I mean, I'm sure she's going to,
she's gonna compile a list.
right, but.
And then,
But I think what we do have on the table is in each of the committees that they're supposed to be kind of identifying, projects that could be grant funded, so just kind of having some ideas on the table would also help. So I think part of her plan said that she's gonna like kind of interview us.
Mhm.
So I would imagine that we'll have more to say about that.
there won't be any for safety probably.
No? Maybe, maybe she's able to identify something, but yeah, there's maybe nothing for you to identify, but any project pretend that there's a grant out for the project, because there might be, so if you can identify any projects,
For safety, you mean?
yeah, just in that realm, doesn't have to be like EMS, but just, anything. Because then it can just be kind of presented to her as an idea and she can maybe line that up with an opportunity. All right, cool. So, did we want to move forward on it? I think the timeline, Craig, was like, when we talked about the next 2 or 3 meetings, right? So that's
Yeah, she's not due up until August 1 anyway.
right.
I would say wait till we get the background check in.
I think that's what we discussed
Okay.
at the last meeting,
Sure.
was waiting for the background check.
All right, awesome. So I guess, yeah,
What was the grant you mentioned for Zach?
Community block grant.
What's that?
It's the one that you can apply for funds for a new town hall / government facility for a rural community. It's provided by the USDA. I can send you the link if you want, or you can look at it.
I think you should send it to all council if you could.
Sure.
Yeah.
all right, awesome. Yeah, I think that can be meeting with us next meeting. I don't have anything specifically for council, so Stephanie, anything?
Yes. In that folder that went around, there was a report from the Auditor of State. Just to condense it, it's a bulletin regarding fraud training requirements for employees and elected officials. This is something new. I think I mentioned before that they were trying to put something in place to require everybody to take fraud training, and it looks like they now have it in place. They're requiring all current employees and elected officials to complete the fraud training by September 28th and then every 4 years after. And then new employees or elected officials have 30 days to complete once they take office or begin employment. They're working on providing a link for the training. So once they send that out, I'll send it out to everybody. And then last meeting, we had Mark Sheffer here about nomination for the Water District Board. All we have to do is voice vote if we want to nominate him, and then we just send a copy of our minutes to them before August 8th.
All right, do we have a motion to vote Mark Sheffer for Northwest Water Sewer District Board?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Anything for Harold, anything to take back to him?
He's not around, does he?
No, he has planned time off right now. Yes, sir.
The reservoir.
Hmm.
I don't know what that job title was supposed to be, what that contract was supposed to be doing.
It doesn't look too great.
It's not the way it was supposed to be done. It's not finished.
Okay.
And I understand they've already paid it,
They've already,
paid the bill.
We talking about the hydro seeding?
Or seeding, working the ground and making
Think
it
so.
level, and it's
Yeah.
terrible, especially on the south end.
yeah. I don't disagree with you, so. All right. Sure, we reach out to them.
They need to be brought back out and finish their job.
I don't believe it's handicap accessible yet either, is it?
No,
No,
we
that's-
discussed it in community
That's
development.
identified as a project.
Yeah, it's on an agenda.
Okay,
Yeah, and the walking path isn't complete yet either.
right. Yeah,
They still got to fill in some stone and stuff and pack it some more. And
I reached out to them, so. It was a sign. Okay. Ken. Code enforcement.
In one permit issued since previous report. It was for a accessory building on Maple Street. June 21st, I received a call from a property owner on Maple, not that one. Checking on the possibility of purchasing an adjacent lot to house a horse lawn in the village. I explained the only permitted animals other than dog or cat and a maximum of 6 chickens were prohibited unless it was part of a 4-H project. And he was cool with the idea. He just apparently owns a horse. There was a lot for sale near his. He thought if he bought that, he could put a fence up and keep the horse on town.
Maybe outside of town.
We sent a letter to Silver Street address for weeds on the 25th. The 27th, net permit for Maple Street, and Stephanie, I brought Stephanie and she sent out notice that there's 2 couches in the boulevard on Locust Street. And we're still there as of and bags of cans in the rear yard on the Taylor Street address. So those also got a notice of fixing her. Other than that, there's been
Okay.
Rick wants me to go out to his neighbors.
Awesome. And we have a couple committee reports, starting with community development affairs from the 8th.
Okay, Vince was the mayor, Jessica Souza, myself, and attending was Brittany Blonsky. Committee decided to pass on the proposed subdivision codes to council for approval. Was determined that vehicle restrictions on the walking path would preclude any gasoline powered vehicles of any kind and golf carts regardless of power source. I figured that would keep most of the stuff off there we were concerned about. There were also some safety concerns raised about the new prairie plots. First, there was discussion because the current maze labyrinth layout only provides for one point of access and egress. It was felt that enabling pass-through should be the case. Secondly, we wanted to ensure that plant height in the prairies would not impair visibility from both inside and outside the plots. This will be addressed by not using any tall dominating grasses in the areas and utilizing short to medium height wildflowers and grasses for the bulk of the mix. And I see Ken just left. The committee is also asked by Mr. Taylor to address form regulations on both solar panels and tarp sheds. We talked about things such as setbacks and permits as accessory structures, etc. But we felt we needed more input on Ken and find out what his concerns are specifically before we proceed.
All right, yeah, so that committee talked about writing or updating an ordinance for motor vehicles and parks. And so we'll begin to draft that if anyone has any input on that, but we'll hopefully have a draft next committee meeting for what that takes. And then as noted, we're also going to ask Ken to come to the next meeting to discuss some of his bullet point items, such as the solar panels and the zoning definitions. Any questions for that committee?
Why are the solar panels a concern, just out of curiosity?
I think it's just something that he's identified that our code has like nothing in there about.
Someone called and asked.
That's going around all over.
Yeah, I was just curious.
It even come up on township, their meeting.
So, yeah, I mean, the committee talked a little bit about it, but, really like, everyone has an opinion on that. And so we were going to invite Ken to see if he had just a little bit more information on where his head was.
Well, if you do solar panels, you got to do windmills, you got to do all of it because it's all the same kind of area of conversation.
Or renewable energy.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was about, setbacks and,
Right.
where, necessarily if.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's head was at like ban it or anything like that. It was just.
That's not what it was about, conversation.
Right. Yep. All right. We had safety meeting reporting for the 24th.
Okay, June 24th, Kathy Hyman, Jesse Kendall, Rick Easterwood, Ricky Kapowski, the mayor, and myself in attendance. The minutes from the last meeting was approved. There's been a total of 176 runs for the year. EMS has 5 new basic EMTs that have passed the test and are now running, in the process of running with EMS. The air conditioning has been fixed on 9/15 at that time. I was also told that Tim was working on 9/14 mechanical issues, which I don't know. He's been on vacation, so I don't think anything's been done with that. Do you know whether we've just been running with the 9/15?
Just the one squad.
Okay. Concerns about response times brought up by Mayor and Tim Schroeder may be related to some delay from dispatch. We were going to get more clarification from him when he gets back as to his concerns. Committee discussed possible new compensation for EMS personnel concerning dollars per run. This program would increase dollars per run to the EMTs scheduled for coverage. No exact dollar amount specified at current time, but could be based on certification levels of the EMTs. It is possible the new program will incentivize members to be scheduled more regularly and also pursue advancement. Further discussion with Kathy and Tim is needed, and council will be informed as we move through it because there's some loose ends to discuss. That is in lieu of hiring part-time EMTs. Just the initial thing, quick figures like we talked about out there, just to make it quick, is we have roughly 300 runs a year. So if we increase the total run dollars, I'm saying total run dollars, to $200 per run, that's only $60,000 a year. That's well below the billable rates that we're sending out for bills.
Yeah, and only, it's not, we're already taking some money out now because we're paying them. So it's not 60 additional. It's
No,
just,
not 60,
Yeah.
total 60.
Right.
And, but there's just a few other clarifications to get before
Yeah.
we're ready to put that through. And the actionable item is council to approve the ADT camera install and monthly payment for interior and exterior camera installations for Village Hall.
And maintenance.
it's Village Hall.
Yeah, Village Hall right now.
So yeah, the EMS program. So, Weston, has its own EMS, which is, pretty rare these days. Like you see most EMSs going to districts, and they serve like a larger area. Weston EMS has, been serving the area since the county, stopped doing that. Do you know, 70s or 70s? Yeah. And,
54 square miles.
yeah, 54 square miles. And so we have a huge area. And so we work with Milton Township and Liberty Township and Milton Township.
Weston.
West Township, yep. And so the thing that's unique about our EMS is it's completely volunteer. And they've been doing some recruiting, but what we're trying to do is make sure it makes sense for people to sign on, I guess. So kind of continue that volunteer atmosphere, but make it worth their time to make the run. And so I think we have a great plan on the table. I think that's a good way to see if that can get more people involved in the department, and kind of add to the momentum that we've already had. We've had 3 or 4 new volunteers over the past 6 months, right?
5.
Like that. 5.
Actually, I think there is a 6th one, but they just haven't passed the test yet.
Yeah.
But they will. It's just time factor.
Yeah, and so obviously the idea here is, to keep our EMS running as slim as it does, I guess. It's districts cost a whole lot more in taxes than how we're currently operating. And so we're trying to find some happy medium there to where Weston can still maintain its EMS and also serve that area at a reasonable rate. So
Honestly, the number of runs per entity though, Weston has the most runs.
Right, sure, yeah.
And quite honestly, I've been running some numbers, even if, believe me, I don't want this to happen.
Right.
I mean, I want to serve the rest of them that we have under contract, but I believe we'd be able to survive on our own if we had to, with that particular program, just for Weston.
Yeah.
And the hope is not that we don't have to raise the rates to the other entities also
Right.
in order to keep them involved at the current level. We'll have to see how it goes for the first year or so. And if we have to raise the rates a little bit in order to cover it, fine. But there should be excess monies after the billings to be able to add money to the current fund.
Yeah, I think our EMS operates on anywhere from like 250 to 350,000 a year.
That's what they have. They operate on less than that.
Yeah.
Is it less than that?
Yeah, it's like 100.
About 110,000.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only 110?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, they just have a balance.
okay,
And that balance is what we want to keep because you have to write a new unit or whatever. The other thing to let everybody know about is the fact we are probably I think we're the only rural department that has 2 units available
yeah.
in Wood County.
Yeah, and we're advanced life squad too, and we've been advanced for a lot longer than most of the other EMSs, so. But,
That comes at the dedication of a few people.
yeah, and if it would turn to a district, I mean, you're looking at 5 to 10 times that budget. So, I mean, it's just,
And it keeps going up.
yeah,
Northwest 190, which is Grand Rapids and Washington Township, they're going back on the ballot for more money and they've been on there a couple times in the last 3-4 years.
all right, yeah, so I'm excited to see that.
For the person that's,
Yes.
there is, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's great to see that moving forward. We have also the ADT camera install, so there's a recommendation, final recommendation from safety to do the estimate that had the cameras for Village Hall. Any questions about that? Further discussion?
What is the monthly payment?
$78 and
24.
76.
Yeah, I think, well, they got tax in it. Yeah, maybe 76.24.
It was $1,940.10 for the installation and then 76.24.
And then we can do this separate or you can just agree, I guess, but I think we had also identified maybe using that PEP, the PEP grant to cover some of that.
I think PEP grant's normally about $1,200, I think.
1,000.
It's straight now.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve that? Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? With using the PEP grant? All right. And we had a public works meeting from the 25th.
In attendance was myself, Mr. Easterwood, Mr. Meyerholtz, Mr. Warner, and Mrs. Klukowski and Harold. Reviewed the agenda and was trying to figure out why Silver Street never got paved by Morlock. I was under the impression that it was supposed to be done, and after reviewing all the minutes from the beginning of June, reviewing committees that were involved, Public Works and administrative process, there was no issue to move forward. No issue not to move forward. I would like to know what happened. It's not the progress. Harold informed us after talking to Stephanie that they may have to reappropriate funds, so he stopped that process. Next topic was the status of Kleinfelter, the progress of OPWC and SIB. Harold went to call Bob Desmond for status on their portion. Bob advised that they are working on it and would get with Stephanie if any questions were arise. That was regarding the SIB grant.
So they're gonna,
SIB or
SIB.
OPWC?
SIB for the loan process, and they are still working on the OPWC.
Oh, okay.
Because there was confusion on what, nobody's ever filled out the SIB, but he knows there's people in his office that has.
Okay.
So
Did he get back to you?
I don't think
Me?
he can call her. She was,
No, he hasn't. I've got some directly from ODOT. I can forward him if it helps too. That was, because when we were talking, Feller and Finch wanted our business. And they said something about not being familiar with SIB and thought that there was, stipulations behind it. When I reached out to ODOT, they're like, oh, no. So I have a great, breakdown of it that I can share.
I mean, what I took from it is if you have any questions, you can call Bob, and if he
Yeah.
was going to research it himself to
Okay,
have the right person reach out to you.
all right.
Yeah, because it sounded like we were supposed to fill out the SIB and give that to Bob.
Okay.
JPX quote for lowering the cost of the project was also brought up, which leads me to asking the status on manhole cover on the main street. And Harold advised that they were supposed to do it on Monday. That would have been last Monday, but didn't because of the weather. But he said they were going to try it this week. And Harold was also going to check the hole and see what kind of base was in it and advise Bob Desmond of the findings. Sidewalk approaches for property accessible to the road. Harold was going to get locations and try to get quotes from K&K. Update on remaining streetlights for replacement from Edison is now a struggle because they need pole numbers for locations rather than looking up towards the light to see if it's old or new. I believe that this was just a cop out to finish the job. Harold is to get a pole number and relay that information for completion from the original install program. Check the status of hydroseeding on the reservoir. I believe that the hydroseeding did not take as well as it should have. Harold believes it is good enough, but I asked if there was a warranty on the work because of the rain and such. He was supposed to advise. Not long for a discussion on Alumni Park and the plans for the tall grass. There was confusion on why the grass is so tall. Harold advised that he was checking on what it would look like in finished form, which I believe was designed. I asked why the grass needed to be tall for that layout. You can do the same with different heights of grass that doesn't need to be 2 foot tall. Then we also asked what plan was for the native grass layout. There is where it got interesting. Concept versus reality. Brittany stated that there was a labyrinth of tall grass going into that area. Harold wasn't sure of that. Once again, the plan and those and whose head it's going through. When money is to be spent on projects, it still needs to come before council. As far as time on projects, is still money. Also trying to finish up parking lot. We don't want anything but a free permit with sticker parking. No permit, no parking, to be towed at owner's expense. Brittany brought up that she,
You misspelled my name 4 times in this and I'm just correcting it every time. I'm sorry.
okay. Brittany brought up that she believes the council hall is and has for some time been contaminated around due to her allergies and would like it to get professionally checked out. Rob suggested it would do any inspection that we would get this done as well as the post office done through a thorough inspection for both structural and contaminants. Harold was going to call and get info on it and bring back to committee. No actionable items.
All right. So I think Silver Street, they kind of just did that project and we didn't really have a heads up. And so I heard you say that Harold had Stephanie pave it, and I don't think.
Harold kind of talked about it, and I think the administrative process, we talked that after the updated quote for the rest of the Silver Street up to the trailer port.
Right.
We did not know if we had enough money to do that or if we would have to reappropriate. So I think it was Harold or Stephanie's decision, and I think we talked about it, was since there's no more mobilization fee, to wait until we got the quote on Main Street to see what we do after that.
Well, either way, they didn't really like touch base with us that they were started, that was like a project that they were doing through the township. I think after talking with Harold more, and Stephanie, we had split our portion off into a separate, project, like they gave us an estimate on that. And so I think they were thinking in their head that it would be separate.
We also got a quote from them as well for the other portion of it.
No, that's what I'm talking about. We have,
Well, we had a quote for 17,000 and then we wanted to make sure that we wanted to make sure everybody was on board and remembers that we still owed $8,000 from the township portion of it.
yeah.
And
And
at that point was not going to get billed directly to us. It was going to get billed from the township to us.
right.
Harold told me that they brought that to the council and everything, and they decided from the trailer park in toward town, they decided not to do that this time. He was gonna hold off till next year.
So
No,
I guess my point is,
no.
I guess my point is that, I mean, at the end of the day, this is what Harold's supposed to be doing, is contracting and keeping in touch with.
I understand, but I also like reviewing it. I don't think we ever officially approved that to move forward. Like I said, they kind of surprised us by doing it. So I agree with you.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, it got brought up
Yeah, we talked about it.
it got brought up both the Public Works meeting for 3 meetings. It got relayed back to administrative process to verify.
Okay.
And the last meeting from the administrative process was, we're good. Because there was nothing in the minutes from then until today regarding, no, we have to reappropriate.
Either way, I don't really think there's a follow. I mean,
Last meeting,
That was the
we were
16th.
very close, but we thought we were good. But then we got an updated quote for the 17,000, which was a little bit higher than what we had estimated.
Mhm.
So now we are waiting for what this comes in at before we have to decide.
Just to verify, are we talking about the 17,000 or the 8,000?
8,000,
8,000 taken care of, the 17,000.
Okay.
the additional section that we were gonna
Okay.
pay. And then you had mentioned the prairie,
Mhm.
and do you have any outstanding questions?
Oh, I got a lot of questions, but I think it's reserved for the miscellaneous business.
Okay. All right, awesome. Some upcoming meetings, we have administrative process. 8th at 6, we have rec board on the 10th at 6:30, cemetery on the 11th at 6, community development and public affairs on the 16th at 6, safety meeting on the 22nd at the safety building at 6, and public works on the 23rd at 6. New business, we have an ordinance, I'm sorry, we have a resolution.
It looks like it's supposed to be a resolution, not an ordinance.
Cool. So we have a resolution. Is it still going to be -11 or?
No, but I'll assign it a number when it's,
Resolution authorizing the execution of certain settlement participation forms related to the new national opioid settlements, declaring an emergency. Have any discussion on that?
What is that?
so the resolution is you have to sign, documents to get in on settlements for opioid. There's a bunch of lawsuits out there for the opioid problem. And in order to get in on that, you have to sign documents, and that what this resolution is just authorizing those documents to be signed, or you miss out on the money that's out there.
Who misses out?
The village.
Trying to recoup loss from it?
No, I think,
Or I mean, what?
In a way, there's another document in the folder that tells you what you can use that money for. I think based on reading it, if we were to, I don't know if we'd get settlement money, because both Paul and I noticed that those entities that have gotten money so far are ones that have a Walgreens in their town and places that have pharmacies. But that doesn't mean that it would open up more.
I think it's for identified areas too,
Yeah,
if I read it correctly. I
so
don't know that we're an identified area. I have no clue.
yeah, the village is on a list that just right now it shows 0 for a settlement in the most recent one. But I'm sure there's more. This one specifically, the newest document to sign is from Kroger's. So, or Kroger, I always.
And there's obviously a timeline that has to be done by, that's why it's emergency.
Yes. Because that one came out and they've been, hey, reminder, you need to sign this, you need to sign this. So I reached out to Paul like, hey, is this a new one? So he provided this for any future ones that come out that we can just sign and be in the pot, I guess.
So if Dr. Wallace, he prescribes too many opioids and someone dies, and then they sue the pharmaceutical company, then you get money.
It could work that way. Yeah. If they identify that there's been an issue here with opioids. So, yeah.
Has there been an issue with opioids in this area?
I am not,
yes.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Because it's not something that's, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'm, I'm not asking the details. I'm just.
I think the sheriff has told us before that there's definitely a problem. And I don't think it's unique to Weston. It's just,
No, his last indication, like 6 weeks ago, is the fact that it's all the villages in the county area.
yeah, in this, I think it's like a state level lawsuit, like you said, for Kroger, right?
the recent one to sign.
Yeah.
There's been CVS, Walgreens, Kroger.
Rite Aid's out of business.
Yeah, Rite Aid might have been on there, but
So yeah, it's just something our legal counsel has advised that we pass just in case.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, so a motion to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules.
A second, okay, roll call, Ms. Kukowski, Mr. Easterwood,
Yes.
Ms. Suser, Mr. Meyer Holtz, Mr. Babcock, Mr. Warner.
Yes.
And now a motion to approve resolution authorizing the execution of certain settlement participation forms to the new national opioid settlements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then we also had ordinance making supplemental appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, also declaring an emergency. And so this is just changing the previous appropriations for professional and technical services in the lands and buildings, I guess, account 790.
that it's just a general.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for the cost of the AEP.
Yeah, so this is amending our appropriation so we can fit in the questions. So it changes that line item from 10,000 to 13,000. All right, do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, Mr. Warner,
Yes.
Mr. Babcock,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer Holtz,
Yes.
Ms. Suser,
Yes.
Mr. Easterwood,
Yes.
Ms. Kukowski.
Yes.
And a motion to approve ordinance making supplemental appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024.
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Who'd you choose?
Oh,
The second,
I heard
okay.
Craig.
All right, has council had a chance to review the bills? Any questions about the bills? Have a motion to,
So moved.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and we are on to miscellaneous business, and I think, Rick, you alluded to,
Yeah, I just need clarification on some stuff here.
so the bullet point says discussion on committee council responsibilities.
Yes. Now, we all got a copy of the council rules. And in these council rules, which we approved, I guess, last meeting, officially approved them. And I'm going by the standings of committees as follows. And I went through, and the only reason why this has got brought up is because I believe, and this is my opinion, that things are happening in different committees that are not designed for those committees. And in my opinion, that certain processes need to stay within the committees and then work with the other committees to finalize. Public Works is my in charge of committee. And it says members oversees implements of plans of streets, sidewalks, storm sewers, public properties, and quote, stations, maintenance, and the growth of the village lands and public spaces. Planting and maintaining of trees, assist the mayor in implementing and updating public works policies, and implement and update the general public infrastructure plan. And the reason why I brought this up is, for one, I'm still having an issue with the plan for Alumni Park and in the current and the future planning of it, because it doesn't seem to be that the guy who's supposed to be in charge of it, which is supposed to be Harold, has a distinctive plan in mind, because he alludes to different ideas. When it comes to planting of the trees, it was brought up that we were going to carry over money from 2023, unspent money for 2023, to allow him to buy an assorted amount of trees for 2024, which is this year, and in which he did, where I could not find in anybody's committee in their report that has supposed to happen or should happen. I don't make their reports. I don't go to everybody else's meeting like other people do. I was instructed that I have the right to go to every meeting and that I don't trust my fellow council people in making it the rightful decision. And my point was, I don't think anybody made the decision in the committee, and nor can you make a decision in committee. You can reference the decision to council on the committee's approval. And that is part of our council rules. And with that, like I said, I couldn't find nothing from 2023 of July, all the way up to,
I got it.
sorry, all the way up to this 521. Well, I'm sorry, January 18th, community development, all topics of should have went to Public Works. And I can go back to their minutes, but you guys all have copies of them. The other thing that brought to my attention was what Brittany said about the building here. But it was discussed in community development and public process, which it shouldn't have been. You guys in community development public process is supposed to keep track of policies and procedures of the public, not the conditions of buildings and lands, which is supposed to be done by the Public Works. And I think what gets me is that there's a lot of people that talk to this committee and this committee and this committee. And when after talking to these committees or talking within these committees, they assume that all council is under the approval and under this understanding, which is not the case. And I don't see where most of the stuff is being reflected in the minutes that a decision was made. Which also brought me to job descriptions. And the job descriptions is referring to our village administrator and his ability and what he's capable of doing, because it was also brought that that's within his power to do. I looked through the village administrator thing we voted on in 2021 on making Harold the village administrator. And it refers to the reference of ORC, I want to say it was 735273. In his job description, this is the village administrator through that's through the county or through the state. Let's see here. The manual, maybe. Village administrator, appointment and abolishment. The village council may establish the position of village administrator to be appointed by the mayor, subject to council's approval. An elected official of the village may be appointed to the position of village administrator, but elected officials must resign his and her elected position prior to appointment as administrator. In addition, in such situation, the elected official must take care and avoid ethical violations. And this goes on and on and on. But this doesn't really pertain to this. This is referring to the ORC code 735-271 and 272, which is related in our what we signed or voted on for Harold. And let me go back to this. The village administrative job description. And it goes with the saying of an hourly wage, and it says typical positions, responsibilities of village administrator appointed under the section 753721 of the Ohio Revised Codes manages, conducts, and controls maintenance and constructive activities of the village. By the way, that code is strictly for water, sewer, gas, electric, public utilities only. Nothing else. We don't have nothing else. We have stormwater. That's what we have. We don't have gas, electric, and things of that nature. Is directly responsible for the effectiveness and effective operation of the service provided by the village, such as snow removal, streets maintenance, mowing, parks and maintenance, brushes, leaf pickup, electric service, and stormwater retention. Directions. Supervises and coordinates with activities for all employees under the position of supervision. That would be, he's in charge of Harold, Gary. Operate and maintain the village equipment such as dump trucks, backhoes, dirt patcher, mosquito sprayers, and mowers. And this, like I said, this keeps on going on, but the village administrator shall provide the improvement and repairs of streets, alleys, avenues, lanes, squares, landings, market houses, bridges, viaducts, sidewalks, sewers, drainage, ditches, culverts, shipping channels, streams, water, of course, and as well as lighting, sprinkling, and cleaning of streets, alleys, and public places. And this right here, all this stuff in his thing that we all voted on has nothing to do with what he's been allowed to get done. I mean, he is supposed to oversee contractors that are doing work in the village, for the village, and to the village. He is supposed to research and find appropriate amount estimates and things of that nature to better the village and make sure the village is not getting taken advantage of. But there's nothing that gives him the right to go out and buy trees. He has the right to take a tree down in an emergency. You know what I'm saying? Because he has that authorization to physically work in the behalf of the village under an emergency. With no questions asked, as long as he was within his $10,000 limit of whatever he has to do, but all that still has to come through a committee for approval.
Well, actually council.
Well,
Council, sorry. And I'm trying to figure out
yeah,
why there is no plan for this walking path and how it was discussed on and into committees, and it was bounced around between different committees.
Mhm.
And it should have never been bounced around through committees. It should have been brought to one committee, which is Public Works, which is Lands and Buildings, which I, by the way, did not make these job descriptions. I didn't make any of this. This was already made up. I'm trying to figure out why. We're supposed to be working together. But it seems like Public Works, in my opinion, was last to know
last to know about,
issues. Because I related to the appropriate people for proper financing for Silver Street. We got back and forth, we got our agreements, it didn't get done. And then it was like, oh, we don't know if we have the money. I'm frustrated because I got called out on this meeting Tuesday because I don't trust my fellow council people, and I'm telling you, I don't think I have a trust issue with anybody, but it should go to the appropriate committee for the appropriate
yeah.
evaluation.
So, I mean, I think there's gonna be some overlap. So, could, the walking path and improvements have gone to Public Works? Yes. Could they also go to community development and public affairs? I think so,
I'm just going by what the description of what they're
Right.
responsible for.
Well,
I don't tell the.
No, but
Well,
Rick, it also says in there that, you do that by setting policies and working out budgets, that board is not there to like micromanage our employees. It's to, identify projects, set budgets, and write policies, and so I know, well, your committee.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
All the committees. I mean,
you're right. I mean,
right. And so I think we keep bringing up trees. You had mentioned that it's never been on the record.
I had to make sure it was on record to carry $35,000 over for the 2023.
$35,000.
$1,000 of non-spent money for the streets to carry over to 2024 to make sure I had enough money. And it was well understood.
I'm confused.
We didn't use all our street money from
Last year. Carried over money. That's
I
why.
had to get approval to carry money over
Oh, yeah.
to reappropriate
Well,
for 2024. Am I not correct?
well, no, that was.
That's a different type of carry. Yeah,
That
that's
was
why I'm confused.
identifying-
So the tree one, the tree one specifically, that was purchased, a portion of that, the 3,000 or whatever was purchased in the previous year, which means I have to carry that over until I receive the bill to actually pay it.
Right.
We didn't get that bill till April.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
had to be held open.
There was no discussion on it.
And see, Rick, here's where I gotta kind of point out that every time we've talked about trees every year, there's always been, hey, is anyone interested in helping with trees? And so, and that's the thing, if trees, keep coming up as a concern, then let's put a tree policy.
I don't think I'm more worried about them buying the trees like that, I'm saying it should have went to that particular committee.
Can I say something?
It has nothing stopped you from the other day, so go ahead.
It does state in here that the village administrator shall supervise the improvement of repair of streets, avenues, alleys, lands,
Mhm.
lanes, squares, landings, market houses, bridges, viaducts, sidewalks, sewers, whatever.
Yeah.
It does say
This-
lands.
It says supervise. Supervise.
And down here, it says that he's authorized to purchase things up to $10,000 for any projects under his supervision.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Something to improve a park
I think
under his supervision.
Oh, it's not,
I don't know, I don't think it's any secret, that the tree budget that we appropriate every year is for removing of trees and planting of new trees.
absolutely.
Right. And so you were definitely asked, everyone was definitely asked if they had any input on that, and all input that was given was followed.
Well, let's use another example.
Okay.
I was at that meeting and asked the question of who's in charge of the project down there. And the reason I asked who was in charge of the project is because I've had a few people come to me and ask me why the village is allowed to grow grass further higher than anybody else. And I asked that question and I got told that it was a concept and that there was a labyrinth going to go in there and that we needed to have it that high. Now that was like the fourth or fifth reason. I remember talking to you about it the first time and I was told it was too wet to mow.
Mhm.
Then I was told that it was because there were rabbits in there and we didn't want to mow it. Then I got told a third time that it was due to the fact that of this concept idea. And then I was just told most recently at the meeting that it was because, we've got butterflies. Now, that's not native grass down there.
Mhm.
That's wheat. And we get after our residents for mowing. And as far as I'm concerned, that should not have happened down there.
Cause I asked him, so why are we letting it grow?
Yes,
And
that's when I got ripped on.
and he goes, well, we're testing out. We're trying to see what it looks like. I said, you can make it look, you can have 6-inch grass and then a 2-inch grass. It doesn't need to be that tall. Once again, I play softball up there and we took another 10 minutes trying to find a softball in that tall ass grass. I hit over the fence. I mean, we can go around this all day long, but there's nothing ever been approved by a committee
For the path,
And I will add one other.
or for the native, or for.
I'm talking about the only thing that was approved was
Was the path.
the path in general.
Right.
And
No,
another item
I know.
is that
I don't know if you know because you keep on saying that.
the master plan.
I'm getting fit.
The master
I got it,
plan was
mister.
never approved by council of any.
There's not a master plan. There's
Yes, there was.
ideas.
You showed it at the meeting.
No, that
You
was,
did. Did he
you're
not?
talking about that right there. And I'm just saying that a walking path has been on the table for over 10 years. That poster is 10 years old.
Never approved. The master plan was never approved by council.
I agree. And,
Okay, but you.
and as I
you
said,
alluded to that at the open meeting that we had for all the citizens out there by holding this map up saying this has been here forever. This has been
well,
here.
I think,
And I think a lot of the people thought that that meant it was approved by council.
no, Rob,
I'm not the only one. I asked Stephanie to go back and find out because I was concerned about it.
Mhm.
And there was nothing. It only was raised in one committee meeting, You were there.
walking path.
the master plan.
There is no approved master plan. Showing that was just merely,
Part of Rick's discussion.
merely in,
That's what Rick's discussion is.
will you let me talk? That was merely in response to, no one's ever talked about a walking path. And it was just, yes, we've talked about the walking path in many different capacities.
As far as I'm concerned, the walking path is null and void at this point.
All right.
What my concern is the extra monies that we're currently spending without going through the proper committees to get the job done.
And I would like to say,
And when I asked who was in charge of that project, nobody could tell me.
It is also in public, community development and public affairs. We've talked about that and we've reported on it
Which in my
multiple
estimation
times.
is.
And I answered that, hold on, I answered that in Rick's email. And, he rightly so, asked like, well, what do I tell people, which is great. If you have a question about what's, going on,
See that, you said get with you or Harold on that.
right?
And
And what did I tell you? It's under construction.
it's under construction, but
Right.
Harold was like, I don't agree with Jeremy on the tall grass. I want flowers. That's what I'm saying. Who,
Oh, well,
that didn't come out of my mouth. That came out of his mouth.
And then you have Brittany saying she's got a labyrinth that she wants in.
Can I
You know,
please-
wonder,
Just freaking, can I speak?
I don't even feel like I've been able to speak. So
that's unusual.
Enough.
there have been many ideas put in. I think we've allowed the administrator to also come up with some ideas. And we've already talked that, you know, we're working on the timeline, and we'll have a presentation, you know, something to present from that committee as far as like the next steps. But, you know, basically that grass is going to be, you know, killed off, and, you know, native plants will go there. And so you heard in our committee report that we had talked about the labyrinth, and, you know, Brittany gave him a drawing, and Harold, you know, kind of roughed that out. Didn't, you know, 100%, you know, understand, I think, what Brittany was going for. That's
I hadn't
okay.
heard about it until she brought it up.
That's okay.
It's
and-
okay not to hear about it.
No, but once again, like it's been put out there, and we've been reporting on it in committee meeting. Hey, if you have any input, let us hear your input. We hear you. But I don't know, how do we get past, you know, disagreement, you know, because, you know, there has to be like, you know, room to
You've gotten
plan
past
it
the
out.
disagreement. You've just done it. That was the only question we had, is who's heading the project?
No, I mean, the only thing that's been done is some grass has been let go along, and
You've determined its placement. You've determined everything.
well, I haven't determined anything, but yeah, we've, you know, kind of talked about placement, and Harold has, you know, put together a suggestion, and that's going to be brought back to that committee.
The committee can't make the determination. Committee has to bring it to council for approval.
Right. I agree. That's the plan. Yes.
The statement on trust was brought into respect during that meeting based on the trust was to have your fellow council members who had ideas that cost money to bring it to council for approval to spend money. Nothing at the park besides the walking path has been done, has cost money. Nothing has been assigned funds.
Right.
Nothing has been done that costs money.
Trees were planted.
Council is supposed to approve things that cost money.
Trees were bought.
Trees completely different, Rob. We've already discussed that.
Trees went in that park in a position that we didn't know about.
You've been asked every time we've planted trees if you have any suggestions.
No.
And so I think, you know, to stop hearing about trees, I think you should think about, or I can ask you to put on the agenda, a tree policy or a tree board or something that, you know, has a little bit more protocol. And that's the thing is, if you identify something,
Is it going to be handled in that committee, or is it going to be just, oh, I think we need a tree here, then we'll put it to this person because the public community development thinks it's a good idea.
if there were a tree policy, then we would follow the tree policy.
How was it done before, I guess? Where did you, if you've had this fund for years and years, where did you plant the trees prior to? I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Just your whole village tree.
We've planted them in boulevards. We've planted them on, you know, village, you know, property.
Right.
We've planted them in the parks.
Expected with that fund and those trees and not putting one.
If they were-
That's the biggest issue.
I mean, they were put in
Down.
multiple places.
If you had trees taken down in a residential area, they would try to locate another tree in that area. Now, that depends on,
That also,
that depends on what
the
neighborhood.
fund also is responsible for taking down trees
Mhm.
and making sure haphazard trees, like all the ones down Broadway that are in the school property, can cost excess of over $10,000 if they come down.
Yeah.
But yet, I don't say we just spend all our money because we have it. You know, we have to save some for some. You know what
Stephanie,
I'm saying?
as a fiscal officer, has anything come out of the tree fund this year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything.
The
Three-
other half of those trees that got
Three-
planted out there.
3,000.
That's the encumbered from last year.
No,
No,
Oh, okay.
3,000.
only three
on
from
top of
last
that.
year was carried over. The rest of it, well, not the rest of it, but a good chunk of it. I'd say there's probably only another, well, where's that?
I think it was when it
No, I can
close
pull
to
it up.
7,000.
I was gonna say there's,
So there's still over $5,000 left in the tree fund.
I think so.
And we're halfway through.
Jessica, I know you would.
Well, can I address Silver Street?
Sure.
So if we remember, when we talked about SIB, or SIB was originally used for the residential area of Main Street. It was then decided that we thought the better value was to go after to pave this. I wanted to do it in a 2-year project. It was voted on to actually do it all the way to the city limits. So we've changed the Main Street residential project numerous times. We've now gone past the bid threshold. We've added engineering. And so therefore, all in hand, we were operating on, and again, if this is on me as the chairman of the administration policy, I will take full responsibility for it. We were going on an estimate of Silver Street of what we thought that would cost, and it came in more than what we thought it would cost. So now we are in a situation where, and I believe I said in the last meeting, we were really close to a $136,000 budget. Now we don't know, because we don't know what this is going to come in at, because we haven't opened the bids yet.
Correct, but we were under the impression by Feller and Finch that it was not gonna be their process or their estimate. Sorry, their fee was 10% of the estimate, which would brought us up to within reason.
Feller and Finch provide something saying that it was,
They gave us a fee of 10,000.
Yeah, the
and we
is under contract.
and we assumed that their project was going to be 10% of it.
That's their estimate, yeah.
That's their estimate, and it'll be,
Bids could come in over that.
it could be, and that
Yeah.
doesn't mean we have to take the bid,
And so,
the highest bid either.
No, we take the low. We have to take the lowest.
Rick, I guess that's what I'm saying is, Silver Street, yes, we had talked about it. Yes, we had identified, that, actually, I remember it coming in lower than we thought,
Right.
17, right? 17,000. But, project over 10,000, we really should be like doing a resolution for. And so, if, like the other committees, if we want to move something forward, we start drafting an ordinance, start drafting a resolution. And
I
so,
presented it to that meeting as our recommendation to move forward.
so I
to
guess,
council.
I guess-
I assume it was going to be on the last meeting.
I guess what we could help is, help write those resolutions. But I don't know that was ever explicitly put on the table.
Well, I didn't say it was. I said,
Right.
we brought to our recommendation the last
Right.
meeting before, the end of May.
In between that and
There was
writing a
no-
resolution, they went ahead and paved it. So right?
They paved it a week ago.
Yeah,
That was scheduled to be done anyhow.
It was scheduled to be done in November of last year.
right.
But no one told us when it was going to be done.
But Harold, once again, I don't want to,
Harold kind of knew.
I'm not.
I mean, only afterwards,
Because they're not here or anything like, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
that needs
trying
to stop.
micromanage
That needs to
anybody. I'm
stop.
saying that is his job, is to facilitate. He got an estimate, and I'm sure they gave him a quote, a rough time frame for the quote, because they were going to be in the area. I can almost assure you that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you have, employee concerns, just give me a call. I mean, I'm obviously the supervisor, and so I will take those seriously.
But when it comes to everything here,
Hmm.
referring to council rules, that's on us, not you. It's legislative, not executive. It falls back on Jessica. as the-
I understand, but like I said, that's
I just want everybody to make sure
that's moved forward by making policies, by participating in the budget and things like that. It has to work like that. I mean, you can't expect like Harold to bring every decision that he wants to make, that month, to you.
It's over a certain amount. I would certainly hope he would.
Over a certain amount, yeah. But, I mean, I also
Yeah, but I think
don't,
the big
I don't-
concern is he goes and does this stuff, but he never goes to those committees and discusses what he wants to do in his plan. They just get left in the dark.
I disagree with that, Gary. Disagree with that. So I talked.
Is that not what you?
Totally.
I'm just thinking that as a village administrator, he needs to,
Make community.
I think that
everybody.
I think that talking about job descriptions in a public meeting, I think that's to be done in executive session.
I'm not adding nothing more to it. I'm not adding or taking nothing away. It's strictly in his thing. I'm not here to downgrade him or anything. I think he's doing a good job. I just don't think he's doing enough of the job or relaying the job. You expect us, as far as the mayor, to give us a detailed, to emphasize a detailed report to council, to the rest of council. Should we read his report? What, I mean, I don't ask for everything, but.
Sure.
I hear all the projects. I hear the trees. I hear the walking path. I hear Silver Street. But what I'm really taking away from all of this, are the logistics issues. There are communication issues, clearly. And it's not just one employee. It's not just one committee or one section of what we've got going on. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I had already kind of gotten a heads up about the confusion between committees and what they do and where does the divide come in. When we have a large project, it may involve multiple committees. I think we all understand this. Yes, administration is going to have to approve a financial. They're going to have to go through the budget and make sure that that's okay. Public Works is going to have to deal with their details. So certain projects that are large are going to have to go through multiple committees. But one of the logistics issues that I'm hearing in all of the projects that were just discussed is the follow through from committee to committee. It's not getting passed back or clearly communicated when one committee is done their portion. So I'm going to say that's a communication issue between committees. That could also be a communication issue between Harold, or Stephanie, the other employees, the mayor, that we need to work through and that we need to work out. I'm not going to deny any of that. But I don't think there's an easy solution in this moment either. I also don't think that, and I'll say this carefully, but if I step on people's toes, so be it. I don't think that utilizing those communication issues to get around having to get an approval is appropriate. There are multiple things that have come up in this meeting that I'm not sure were approved. And I'm not just talking about the last 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I have it in my notes to kind of do some research as well. And I go to a lot of the meetings. But I think there's a lot of discussion and generalization like, oh, we've discussed this. We're all seeming to be on board with it. And then it goes forward and I'm like, wait, but we approved a step here that hasn't been done, but somehow we forewent that step and we've skipped ahead. So for me, I hear logistics, I hear communication again. And that's just going to be a continual point for us. That's a very good question. Who is in charge of the project? Maybe we need to be stipulating that. Maybe we can work on that with the chairman of the committees to stipulate a specific project leader. I don't know. I'm going to take ideas from you guys on this going forward, but these are things I'm hearing for every project. We don't have leaders, or we don't know who the leader is. We don't know who to talk to. So we're talking to 5 different people and then lines are getting crossed and we don't know why. And we're getting frustrated. Am I getting the gist of all of this?
At least
Okay,
for me.
okay. So I want you to know, I'm hearing you.
Mhm.
With that, there are other things that I'm looking into that I'd like to address by the next council meeting. And I do think some of them will need to be handled in executive session, personnel and such. So I'd like to add executive session to the next council meeting. Until then, if you could please email your thoughts, questions, ideas to me or Jeremy or both of us, to the whole council, whatever you decide is most comfortable. If you're not comfortable with everybody knowing, fine. You can email it to me. But I'd like you to do that within the next week, and then we can address everything on the table next council meeting, if that's okay with you guys.
Committees are still part of the legislative authority.
Yes.
And herein is where I think part of the problem lies. It's not an executive issue.
When it comes to personnel, it may be though.
Right.
Other
Here's-
than managing personnel, absolutely.
Right. I will also put an element of vision casting to that. I think we don't address vision casting very often. But I think the mayor has a part and a portion in casting the vision for the future. So I don't see, I'm not gonna say that I see an entirely wrong picture of him bringing up the master plan, vision casting. However, there's policy and procedure on how to get things approved. I think all those things can be discussed in more depth later, if everybody's okay with that. Thank you.
A couple citizens. Few citizens. Mr. Betts. Anything additional?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Mr. Patel?
A few things. So it was brought up to me from one of the citizens that has walked her dog at the walking path. With the tall grass, I understand you plan on eradicating it, replacing it by native plants. Her concern was bugs, ticks, mosquitoes, with kids playing around her, walking the dog. What she wanted to know what the town is going to do about it. I don't know if you have an answer or if it's in works.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, it's gonna be taken down soon. So,
Once you plant the native grass, it's not gonna have bugs.
okay, I mean, that's something to take into account, I guess.
I mean,
So,
when there's vegetation, there's gonna be bugs. It's
right, okay.
something I've observed. So no answer on that one. Public Works, power outages. Do we know who to contact? Are you on top of it?
Well, Stephanie's been in contact with Edison and Edison basically says it's all storm related because I think, believe me, I
They
think.
did put, they had a list of each specific date it happened and it was all something that was, they also did,
They can relate storm due to the fact that they also have temporary
Yeah.
lines and services set up. That's part of the problem. And as we all know, there's a portable generation or portable substation out on Kellogg Road that's been a problem. And that is directly hooked to us. So,
Yeah, as long as, someone's on top of it, getting it.
Yeah, we've been in contact with them.
But I think also you guys should show your frustration as well, because I don't think they've,
The more citizens
that's-
that speak up and say the issues.
Yeah.
That's something that I do advise everyone that I hear it from.
we've been trying to do our part there as well.
To reach out, safety. Rob, when I was there last time, I know you talked about maybe making a district or getting full-time employees. Is that still in work or are you just gonna?
as far as a district,
Yes.
this alternative that we brought up tonight was hopefully designed to help take care of that issue.
Yeah.
Because if we can keep it small, and I don't mean small from the standpoint of area or whatever, budget wise.
Lean, yeah.
You keep it lean, we're all better off, because right now, I'll tell you, this area has the least expensive EMS charges in the state of Ohio.
Oh, yeah, that I understand, but it's
For taxpayers,
it's because of Tim and Kathy and
Well, part of this plan is to hopefully incentivize the people to advance through the ranks,
Get a couple more Tims and Kathys.
to try and get Tims and Kathys.
Well, yeah, but everybody, if this works out, everybody should, whoever is volunteering will make money, and it could be substantial for them.
Yeah,
that.
without charging us extra.
Right.
And like I said, even if it got down to the fact that we wanted to operate our own local EMS service, I believe it could be done this way, just based on the number of runs this town generates.
Yeah, obviously, Jigger, that requires, people, to volunteer,
Yes.
continuously volunteer. So,
That and.
so yeah, that's really where that committee is going, is looking at the incentive.
Doing it and having the
Yes.
time.
And that's the frustrating part, sorry, Rick, is we have identified that there are people around here who are capable of doing it, but it just doesn't logistically make sense. And so, if you can logistically make it make sense, I think we'll find that there's more people.
Trying to make it to where it's feasible for all the entities that are currently paying in, because that could potentially not raise their rates. And it could be beneficial for them. I think they'll be all on board on that.
Yeah.
But one last thing, streets, maybe instead of, postponing projects like Silver Street, maybe talk to the village administrator, the council as a whole, look into when the $10,000 rate was set up, where the person does not need a permission, maybe micromanage that budget a little bit, because, township paid 8, if the quotation was 17, $9,000, which does fall.
Oh, that was $17,000 on top of the 8.
Yeah, we already,
Something like that, if you cut money from there, let's say you got $2,500 left over for the trees. You're not gonna use it for the rest of the year. Take that. Reorganize, rebudget.
yeah, and I think
A
that's,
little better instead of just focusing one area, one part, projects that, everybody cares about.
Yeah, I understand that.
Thank you.
is it Mr. Sterling?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just here observing.
Okay, thanks for coming.
They're building a house on Brown Lane.
Nice, all right.
I'm just hearing everything what you're talking about. Is it typical for the town to move out of projects before having like a solid master plan? As far as like the walking path and
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the native grass, are you talking about that?
the trees,
The trees, like I said, the trees are things we do every year. And I think what I'm hearing is we like more formality with the trees, and that's fine. We can identify that in committee, and that's done by writing a policy.
Okay.
So.
that's all. I'm just observing.
Yeah, but like I said, what the committees do and what council is kind of charged in doing is setting the budgets. And so, we, have each committee kind of look at their section of the budget and identify, projects, that can happen in that. And there is also, a budget, for lands and buildings. And that's what the village administrator operates out of. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Randy?
Yes,
Dan?
concerning projects that are taking place without overall discussion about them. A little while back, there was discussion about bringing a depot for Weston. And I'm just wondering if this is something that's still slipping around behind our backs in the progress, or has it just been developed?
I think what we identified last time is, or at least, I had mentioned that if I were to propose something, to, council, to help bring the depot back, that we'd want like some kind of organization, like a historical society. And so, we actually did get a nice little group together to talk about that. And so we've had one meeting, and, I think hopefully in that organization, hopefully we can form an organization, and we can kind of come up with a plan then to present to council. And figure out an appropriate way to involve them.
What group is that? Just curious.
Weston Historical Society.
We have one?
We're trying
We
to. One,
should have one soon. I think,
hopefully.
Just a suggestion, why don't you reach out to the library for something like that? That's more historical type record keeping than most anywhere else.
I believe one
They
of the
have the money.
members, one of the people at the meeting is going to do that. It was just to generate interest from other people in the village that
Is that-
have like ties to
Sure.
previous historical societies that were here, to see if they'd be interested in restarting them.
That for support or financial support? There's two
Or
different
is
things
Define for what did exist.
to move it. Who's gonna finance it?
Oh, you're talking about the train depot.
Yeah, because if you form a
Okay, so
committee
the-
that's gonna support it,
The
you're gonna present
historical
it to council. I have
society.
this feeling it's gonna be paid for by the village.
The Historical Society in itself is thinking about just reforming, not necessarily specifically just for a train depot. It's just, we have interest in that.
so I think that this,
Historical Society would take on the train depot as a project, but right now it's just the formation of it.
That's why I was asking financially or.
well, that's the idea of forming the 501c3 so that you can become eligible for like grant funding.
That's what I wanted to
And
get.
so, like I said, I mean,
Using how you were wording it, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that, there wouldn't be any, ask of council in any way. We'll see how it pans out and what the ask would be. But certainly the ask is not to have the village take care of it 100%. And the ask is also not to bring it into town and then leave it to the village to maintain it. And so what we're really looking to do is identify the costs, find opportunities to get it funded, and then, generate, interest and maintain a group that, could help with it.
Again, but you're also stating that you would come to council for financial aid if necessary.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's going to be on village land, so it would have to come to council in some way.
And the second part of that, just so I understand you, if this committee isn't there today, what makes you think it's gonna be there 10 years from now to take care of that property? That's the problem I have with it. Now it's a village responsibility, like every other thing that falls apart.
No, that's,
Housewives and things of that nature.
I mean, I guess you take that chance, but you also have to give the opportunity. So
Sorry, I didn't mean to break into your.
No, that's.
we can roll right into it.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. So as far as petitions go, have we established what the process will be for petition? As far as this, I know you said special meeting, but is it gonna be equal time shared? Is it going to be, how is that gonna work? And what are the requirements for a petition other than submitting it a week earlier?
I don't really think we've talked any further about it since last you brought it, but I do agree with you. I think, if someone's presenting a petition, they should, have.
Equal time?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There wouldn't be any requirements from us for a petition. The
Right.
petition is just your statement of what you're petitioning. You can.
There are suggestions though.
Yeah, I think the only thing we identified last time is maybe a copy didn't get left with us, and for that to be on record.
For sure. I copied my entire list of people and handed it to council.
And
But then it left the building.
It left
You didn't ask for it. I asked if anybody.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is next time we would make sure that
I still have it.
retained on record. I don't think it's in.
Readdress it because 102 signatures didn't mean anything. What's gonna be something I can present in the next event if I needed to, that's gonna grab attention to this council and say, that was worth its time.
Well, I think it did grab the attention of council. I mean,
Didn't have any results.
it didn't have the results that you wanted. Sure, true.
Okay.
True. But I think it's fair to say that we got a lot out of that process, you know, and
Sure. I'm just asking at the next level, if it's 250, let me know first that if that's the majority of.
I don't think there's any number that you can put on to guarantee a vote from council.
I didn't say guarantee, just get more recognition, I guess. I felt like you just all skipped over and said, well.
I don't think so. I think everyone was,
Give him 3 minutes and let's get this out of here.
well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a meeting like that, you have to, you know, control, you know, the amount of time that's there.
But I'm the one who spent 3.5, 4 hours walking around getting that petition. 3 minutes seemed a little shy.
I don't even think you took your full 3 minutes, but I mean, that's here nor there.
You were shorting me down to it, so it realistically didn't matter. So just to identify, you know, if we're gonna do something differently the next time, if it needs to be done, that would be nice to know that we can actually do a presentation.
Wasn't there a revote after the special meeting? Didn't you guys revote?
No.
Mhm.
Well, there was
Hold on.
4 for it and 2 against it after the 2 unanimous
Right.
initially.
Hold on,
So
I'm talking then. You'll have your turn.
I'm asking you a question.
Oh,
I'm not talking to them. I was asking you.
I don't know, everybody left.
No, is it-
Oh, you guys left, but yeah, there was a vote afterwards.
No, I thought it was the.
No, it was the
No.
next meeting that we
Next
voted.
Meeting.
Yeah.
The next council
All
meeting. We did
those-
not vote at the special meeting. We voted at the next council.
Yeah,
meeting.
That's
but
true.
all those who
Yeah.
want to push it forward.
4-4.
Which were the same people that wanted it to start with, so it didn't make any difference is my point. It wasn't persuasive enough at 100.
Well, I think it did make a difference. I mean, you know, we identified, you know, a lot of like communication, you know, issues that, you know, obviously we're still struggling with, but you know, I don't know, at the end of the day, you know, it's, you know, the work being planned is done by people who all have full-time jobs, you know, and meet once a month, you know, and so I think there does need to be like some allowance, you know, for.
I guess where I was trying to allude to here, you brought up this 10-year master plan, you know, the big, what we'll call master plan for lack of anything else. Yeah. To call it.
So the document was intended at the time, you know, for the Parks and Rec to come up with some kind of master plan. That's a really hard thing to do. And so, you know, really all it did is kind of generate, okay, well, here's a project, here's a project, here's a
That
project.
was a new print, but an old concept. Is that what you're saying?
No, that thing right there is like 10 years old. So,
Because when I was at the council meeting, when this first came up,
Mhm.
it was that you had personally stated that you put it out, the idea to use the extra money to the council members and come back with ideas.
I think that happened.
Took responsibility for that, obviously, because he got all upset about us questioning it.
Well,
I'm kind of confused on if this was 10 years ago, why it hadn't been done, started or anything. And then all of a sudden Harold gets upset because it's his idea.
I don't think he took responsibility. He took it personally. I will say that.
He said it was my idea. He stood up and
The
said,
state of Ohio formation.
not the concept. I'm saying for him to come up with a walking path.
No,
This is what it's
no,
like.
I'm telling you what his idea was. His idea was the walking path that we had decided would be a good idea. We decided that. He thought about forming it as the state of Ohio.
Okay, that was not clarified.
And that was creative interest that so when everybody came against him, yes, he took that personally. You know, it's like,
I think you misunderstood. We were against the entire path.
that meeting was
I mean, honestly.
really frustrating for everyone here. And yes,
Yeah.
yes. But I wouldn't say he took responsibility. I'd say he took it personally because that,
Sure.
you know, he was excited about it and he came up with a creative idea and everybody was excited. And then he basically verbally got kicked in the teeth.
I misunderstood. I thought he took responsibility for the path and that's how he presented it at the time because we were arguing about the entire path,
Yeah, no,
not the shape.
that meeting was very heated.
Yep.
That was the path the committee put forth.
Understood. Thanks.
this way.
No. I'm just
Okay.
figuring it out.
Mr. Lashaway?
I just got a couple questions.
Sure.
Why, when the council meeting is when you close the meeting up, you guys have your private little meeting here after the meeting?
There's no private meetings after
Oh, the heck.
the meeting. It's the door's open. Anyone's welcome to come in. I mean, I think I told you this before. It's really an opportunity for me to meet with Stephanie and Harold and, you know, discuss like, you know, some of the things.
Come up with your master plan for that mess you got down here on Broadway, huh?
You're giving me way too much credit. It's
Yeah.
very much.
Master plan is you, and you.
I don't think that's appropriate, Howard. It's definitely a
I don't care whether
collaborative.
you think it's appropriate or not.
Okay.
And this other deal of wanting to build another council, meeting
Mhm.
room. Why is that?
If you were given the opportunity to possibly have 90, 100% of a building covered, would you?
Because one person wants it?
No, I don't think it's just one person, but here, listen to what I'm saying. If there was an opportunity for you to build a community building / council chambers.
I don't believe a word you're saying. No way.
Okay.
I mean, you guys have got your own private little clan that you run around and do what you want to do. And that's the way you do it. And don't you open your mouth.
I think that's out of line.
Yeah.
Way out of line.
Please don't put your hand near my face.
Yeah,
If you're not happy with the council hall this year, turn that paper over and sign your resignation on the back of it and get out of here.
Okay, Harold, thank you.
However, if there's more than 3 council members present, it's a quorum anyways. They gotta give the records to the public.
yeah. Okay. I think that's everyone. So meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah. Railroad.
I just called it.
Someone down
Why
there.
can't? I know, is this real life?